Ugo's face was so swollen that he could barely open his eyes. His skin was stretched, his body was hot, and he couldn't move without pains. He lay on his bed, breathing hard. His mother, Mama Ugo, sat by the side crying. "God, please help my son," she begged. It was Christmas season in the village located somewhere in Africa. The air was filled with celebration, laughter, and chatter of children, youths, men and women, both old and young. Even sound cries from different animals like goats, sheep, chicken, turkey and cows filled the air. The village was always very lively during this season of the year. Everything had started that Christmas Eve when Ugo returned home from Abuja. His car rolled into the compound, making children run and shout with excitement. When Ugo stepped out, tall and handsome, wearing a clean white shirt and dark glasses, everyone stared. He looked like a rich man from the city. Mama Ugo couldn't stop smiling. She hugged him tightly. "My son, welcome home," she said, laughing with joy. Mama Rose, her co-wife, who lived in the next hut, stood at her door, watching with jealousy. Her own children, Rose, Jane, and Kingsley, were sitting under the guava tree, doing nothing as usual. They spent their days smoking, drinking, and causing troubles in the village. Meanwhile, Ugo is a very successful lawyer who practiced and won several cases and awards. His sister, Favor, was also a successful doctor. Ugo, successful and respected, made Mama Rose's heart burn with anger. Later, when Ugo began unpacking the gifts he bought, the compound was full with excitement. He handed out food, drinks, and money to the villagers. When he gave Mama Rose a folded wrapper and a box containing other items, "Mama Rose, this is for you," he said, smiling warmly. Mama Rose forced a smile. "Oh, my son, you shouldn't have bothered though. I am very fine," she said sweetly, but inside she was boiling with anger. When she got back to her own hut that night, she threw the wrapper on the floor. "Nonsense," she hissed. "Think you are better than my children? I will show you shege in this village." The village was lively with Christmas celebration. Ugo became the center of attention, sharing stories from the city and giving money to the boys in the compound. Everyone admired him except Mama Rose. She watched him with bitterness in her heart, her jealousy growing stronger every day. One evening, Ugo was washing his clothes by the tap. Among them was his blue designer's polo shirt, shining bright in the evening sun. Mama Rose watched from her window, her eyes fixed on the shirt. That shirt, she thought, will teach him a great lesson he would never forget. That night, when everyone slept, Mama Rose sneaked out of her hut. The compound was quiet, except for the sound of crickets. She tiptoed to the drying line, grabbed the blue shirt, and disappeared into her room. The next morning, Ugo searched everywhere for his shirt. "Mama, have you seen my blue polo?" he asked his mother. "No, my son, I haven't seen it," she said, worried. "Have you checked everywhere?" Ugo checked everywhere, every corner, but couldn't find it. Finally, he dismissed it and said maybe it has been carried by the wind in the night. But Mama Rose was in her hut, tying knot in the shirt and whispering words she had learned from an old market woman. She placed the shirt in the calabash, covered it with ash and red ropes, and buried it under her bed. Days after, Ugo fell ill. At first, it was just headache, but soon his legs swelled and his whole body became very painful. He couldn't eat, couldn't stand, and couldn't even speak properly. Mama Ugo did everything she could do. She called herbalists, prayed and burned incense, but nothing worked. Meanwhile, Mama Rose acted concerned in public, but inside she was so happy. "So Ugo, you thought you can mock me," she said to herself. "Now look at you. You gave me just 3 pieces of wrapper and how much, and then you are all here feeling like a big man. You think you are better than my children." In the village, people started talking. Some said his money was not clean. How can a young man have so much money? Maybe he has offended the spirits, others said. Maybe he has done something unclean to get his money. After several trials of trying to cure Ugo but nothing worked, one evening, a priestess came to Mama Ugo's hut. She was an old woman dressed in white with staff in her hand. Her face was stern and her voice was strong. "This sickness is not ordinary," she said. "Someone has done this to your son." The villagers gathered as the priestess threw kola nuts on the ground and chanted. When she finished, she pointed towards Mama Rose's hut. "The spirit says the person who did this is here," she declared. Mama Rose froze, her heart raised, but she kept her face calm. "Bring me what was taken from this boy," the priestess said. The villagers looked at Mama Rose and forced her into her house. They searched everywhere and found the hidden calabash under the bed. Inside was Ugo's blue polo, tied with red ropes and covered in ash. The crowd gasped. Mama Rose fell to her knees, shaking. I am sorry. It was jealousy," she cried. "I didn't mean to harm him this much. I let jealousy take a better part of me." The priestess glared at her. "You caused an innocent man out of envy. Now you must pay." Mama Rose was forced to confess her actions in front of the whole village. The priestess performed a cleansing ritual and slowly Ugo began to recover. When he was strong enough, he quickly packed his things and left the village, taking his mother with him. From that day, Mama Rose and her children became an outcast. No one wanted to go near them. As word of Mama Rose's wickedness spread, no one wanted to associate with her. People crossed the road when they saw her coming. At the market women and men refused to sell her food, muttering curses under their breaths. Her children, Rose, Jane and Kingsley, were banned from community gathering, and no one involved them to do weddings, burial or festival. At first, Mama Rose tried to act defiant. "I don't need anyone," she spat at those who ignored her. But the isolation wore her down. The once proud woman became a shadow of herself. Her shoulders hunched, her eyes sunken. Her children grew resentful of the treatment they received and blamed her for their misfortune. "You have destroyed us," Jane shouted one night after coming home drunk. Rose and Kingsley joined in a heated argument that left Mama Rose weeping. Without support from the villagers, Mama Rose and her children struggled to survive. The once lively compound where laughter and activities were common became eerily silent. The guava tree under which her children once lounged to smoke and drink began to rot, as if reflecting their decline. Mama Rose tried farming a small patch of land, but nothing thrived. Her cassava withered, her crops died off, nothing did well in her land, and her vegetables refused to grow. Some villagers whispered that the spirits had cursed the land, making it barren like her soul. Her children, left with no money and no prospect, turned to petty thieves and mischiefs. Kingsley was caught stealing a goat and beaten by the villagers. Jane and Rose became notorious for scamming travelers who passed through the village, further solidifying their family's shame. Years later, a traveling evangelist came to the village preaching forgiveness and repentance. Mama Rose, now fragile and broken, attended the service. She sat at the back, her head bowed in shame. When the evangelist called for anyone seeking redemption to come forward, Mama Rose hesitated, but her hands trembling. Finally, she stood and walked to the front. The villagers murmured, but the evangelist raised her hand for silence. Mama Rose fell on her knees, sobbing. "I have sinned against God and against my neighbors," she cried. "I beg for forgiveness. Please forgive me." The evangelist listened carefully and prayed for her, and the few villagers who still had compassion in their hearts joined him. Mama Rose's tears soaked the earth. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope. Though she was forgiven by some, Mama Rose's life remained difficult. She spent her entire years tending to her small patch of land and helping others in quite unseen way. She often left small gifts of food and firewood at the doors of widows and orphans in the dead night, seeking to atone for her past. Her children, however, never fully reformed. Kingsley was eventually caught in a large theft scam and imprisoned. Jane and Rose left the village entirely, disappearing into the city where their fate remained unknown. She lived alone during her righteousness until she died. Their story became a lesson in the village for everyone and passed down by generation. Jealousy destroys the person who holds it. Be careful of what you wish for others. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel.